Hello dear students, welcome to the lecture series of Object-Oriented Programming. In this lecture, we are going to see how to define a member function of a class. We will see a simple C++ program using class and object concept, and we will see the private member functions of a class. At the end of this lecture, you will be able to define member functions of a class. You will be able to create a program using class and objects, as well as you will be able to explain the private member functions of a class. Let us see how the member functions can be defined. There are specifically two ways where the member functions can be defined. The first one is a member function can be defined outside the class definition, and the second way is member function can be defined inside the class definition itself. Now let us see the first way, that is outside the class definition. Member functions that are declared inside a class have to be defined separately outside the class. In the class declaration, you know that we have to declare the data members as well as we have to declare the member functions. So whatever the member functions we have declared inside the class, that member functions we have to define separately outside the class to perform some task. These member functions have a function header and a function body, which is outside the class definition. These member functions have the membership identity label in the header, and that identity label tells the compiler which class the function belongs to. Please don't get confused between the visibility label and identity label. Visibility label is private, public and protected, which tells that which data members or member functions will be visible to outside the class, and identity label, the membership identity label, tells the compiler which class the function belongs to. Let us see the syntax. Now here is the syntax. If you want to define a member function outside the class definition, then you have to use the return type. You have to give the return type which function have, then you have to give the class name, and then scope resolution operator, and after that function name, and inside the brackets you have to give the arguments or parameters pass, and then in the opening and closing parenthesis you have to write the function body, that is the statements which are to be executed to perform some task. So this syntax will be common for all the member functions which you want to define outside the class definition. Now let us see what is a membership label class name, which tells the compiler that the function name belongs to the specific class name. The scope of this function is restricted to the class name specified in the header line, and the symbol, if you observe this symbol is called as a scope resolution operator. Let us see what are the different characteristics of these member functions which we can define outside the class. The first one is the different classes can have the same function name, and so the membership label should be there. If you forget the membership label, then compiler will not be able to identify to which class that function belongs to. So the membership label resolve the scope of the function. The second one is member functions can access the private data of a class, and the non-member functions cannot access the private data of a class, and member functions can call another member functions directly. Okay, the member functions can call the private member functions also directly. Let us see the second method to define the member functions of a class. The second way is we can define the member functions inside the class definition. Here we have to replace the function declaration by actual function definition inside the class. Normally small functions are defined inside the class, and when the functions are defined inside the class, it is referred as a inline function. Let us see the two different ways with the example. Let us first see how to define a member function inside the class. Now here I have a class as an item which have a data members as number and cost, and the member functions as put data, a member function as a put data which have a return type as a void, and parameter, no parameter has passed, so void is written. Now this is the definition of that member function. If you observe here, we have not used the scope resolution operator, we have not used the label, that is membership label. We have directly declared that function, and in the declaration itself we have defined the function, we have written the body. Okay, now let us see how to define a function outside the class definition. Now here I have the same class as item, which have the same data members as number and cost, and here I have a member function as a put data. But now if you observe here, see here the data type of that function is written. Now here void is the data type of my put data function, so according to the syntax I have written void. After that, item is the name of my class, so I have written item here to indicate that put data belongs to the class item. And after that, the scope resolution operator is available, which indicates the class name, and that scope resolution operator indicates the scope of that function. And then put data is the name of my function. Okay, and if you observe the definition is same. Whatever the definition, whatever the statements are available here, the same statements are available here also, that is inside the class definition also. So there is no change in the class definition, only the change is the way of defining the functions. Now let us see the simple program with class and object. Now here I have a class item with the same data members as a number and a cost. I have two member functions here. First one is a get data and second one is a put data. Now here put data member function I have defined inside the class definition, and get data function I have defined outside the class definition. Now here void is the return type of my function get data, item and scope resolution operator is the membership label, get data with the parameters which we have passed. And inside the body, I just want to indicate that integer a belongs to the number and float b belongs to the cost. So whenever some argument will be passed, that for example, if you observe this integer main function here, item x is the object which is created of a data type class, and I have called the function as x dot get data. This is the way how we use the membership function and how we use the data members of the class. So x is the object of my class, and x dot that is dot is the dot operator, and object name dot operator, and then member function. This is the way we are using the member functions, and we are using the private data members of the class. Now here I have called the member function as a get data, and I have passed the two arguments to that get data functions, that is 100 and 99.9. so that 100 will go to a, and then the value of a will pass to the number, and then 99 will go to b, as we have to match these parameters with those arguments, which arguments we are going to pass to our function. Okay, so now here 99.9 is the float and the value 99.9 will go to the parameter b, and that b value will go to the will be stored in the cost variable. Okay, so likewise the values will be passed as an arguments to the function get data, which is a member function of a class item. And in the same way, now I want to display the number as well as cost. Now I have called here the put data member function. How to call? Using the object, that is x dot put data, and then whenever that function will be called, these two lines will be executed, and number is equal to 100 and cost is equal to 99.9 will be printed on this screen, will be displayed on this screen. Now let us see what is the private member function. Normally the data items are placed in the private section and all the member functions in the class are put in the public section, but sometimes we may require certain functions to be hidden from outside the world. So such member functions we will declare in the private section of a class, and a member function that member function can be called by another function that is a member of the class itself. That means the member function which is declared in the private section of a class can be called by the member function which is declared in the public section of that respective class only. Even an object cannot invoke a private member function using a dot operator. Now let us see the example. Here I have a class as a sample which have a data member as m and member function as a void read. Now here the visibility label is not available. That means the integer main, data member and void read member function both are private, which are hidden by the class. And we have two more member functions here, void update and void write. Now if I want to access the read member function, if I want to use that read member function in my main function, then s1.read will not work. By considering s1 as an object of a class sample, it will not work as it is a private member function of the class sample. So how we can use, we have two member functions which are public here, that is void update member function and void write member function. So out of these two member functions, one member function or two of the member functions can call the read member functions inside it directly. Let us see how. So the function read can be called by the function update, or it can be called by the function write to the value of to the value, or to modify or to update the value of m. How it will be called? For example, we are using the outside member function definition, and then we will have void sample scope resolution operator with update as my member function, and inside that update I can call that read member function. So this is valid. I can, my member function which is declared in the public section can call my member function which is declared in the private section. So likewise private member functions can be called in the class. So I hope you are clear how the member functions are declared and how the member functions are defined inside the class definition as well as outside the class definition, as well as I hope you are clear how the private member functions can be accessed in our program. So we'll meet in the next lecture with the new concept. Thank you. Happy learning.